Good day, everyone. We are now moving to our next topic, which is how will the predicted changes affect education and schooling in the future? So, it is said here that education is a complex social, cultural, and political phenomenon. Education is a complex phenomenon in the sense that it is composed of many features. We have the teacher, the learner, knowledge, strategies, performance, and community members. These features are very important and are needed in order to have quality education. Education because the people who are involved in educational undertaking are constantly interacting with each other to achieve their common goal. As discussed in the previous lessons, culture is defined as the learned values, norms, and etc. that are constantly shared among people who share a common way of life. From this definition, we can say that education is already a culture, right? Finally, political aspects of education. That political aspect of education cannot be separated from the definition of education because the government itself plays a big role in the educational enterprise. While it is simple to predict that present technological trends will one day result in a computer capable of responding to human vocal commands, it is far less certain how such development may impact the educational enterprise. Moreover, students living in developing countries are likely to object such development. Why? Because they will say that use of computer is time-consuming and expensive. Right? Okay, now let's move on to our next point. We have there, according to Louis Perelman, the author of the controversial book Schools Out, which was written in 1992, there is a strong case of education transformation. No? He argued that knowledge acquisition is no longer something that happens inside the school. Now it occurs everywhere and is lifelong. He said that with the growth of hypermedia and networking, learning is something that can happen anytime and anywhere. In other words, schools are no longer needed, which I think is very impossible, right? Because learning environment plays a big role in the educational process. And then here now, a future where teachers and learners embrace and integrate educational technology and use it to improve teaching and learning is envisioned. This will mean that there must be some important changes that will happen in education. Here are some possible outcomes of the changes. We have here number one, multimedia learning resources available by information networks will proliferate and become an essential feature of education. So, the examples of this multimedia nowadays are computers, interactive whiteboards, online media, and etc. It is predicted that this media will grow rapidly and will become necessary in the educative process. Next, we have learners and teachers alike will have access to powerful portable computing devices that will be wirelessly connected to network resources. Actually, this is already happening in our nowadays, right? We can wirelessly connect to internet through Wi-Fi. We can wirelessly connect, and this was made possible. This made networking easy, right? And then now next, we have the third one. Learning increasingly will take place in authentic context and focus on authentic tasks. From authentic itself, no, the students will work on real problems, finding their own answers, and it is more like a problem-centered approach, right? Because the students are able to answer problems which are based on real-life situations. So examples of these problems will be like poverty, drug problems, and environmental concerns. This can be addressed through the use of active discussion, role-playing, and cooperative learning. And of course, technology will be one tool in the process. The fourth one, we have students will become active learners, collaborating with one another and with more experienced members of society to seek out information and gain knowledge. So, active learning requires the students to apply what they are learning, while collaborative learning encourages small groups of students to work together for the achievement of their common goal. It is also mentioned here that the students can seek and gain knowledge outside the school, and activity made simpler or easier by technology. The fifth one, teachers' roles schools will tend to shift from the stage on the stage to the guide on the side. This means that instead of conveying information, they will help learners make use of new information, tools to find, analyze, and synthesize information to solve real-life problems. And of course, the teacher will also help learners to think creatively and to construct their own understandings. And actually, this is already happening nowadays, right? Where teachers are now facilitators and not teachers. They are called facilitators. Okay, the next one would be education will become a lifelong process, important and accessible to all, and the schools will become centers of learning, not just for children, but for all members of the community. They said that as long as we live, as we are living, we never cease to learn, right? That is why even adults have the opportunity to learn. Moreover, it is said here that education will be accessible to all. Computers will play a big role in this accessibility. Lastly, schools will become centers of learning. No? Not just for children, but for all members of the community. Next, we have the artificial division of grade levels will disappear. So, as I mentioned earlier, right, authentic assessment will be the focus of, as predicted. Age doesn't matter when it comes to solving real-life problems and finding out information, right? Students will be assessed through this, and all students have the opportunity to undergo the activities disregarding their grade levels. Okay, the last one we have the boundaries separating schools from each other and the community will blur or disappear. Distance learning is when the teacher and learner are not in the same place at the same time. Will be used by students to learn from teachers, and of course the teachers to learn from their students also. And at other locations, not only in the school. No? This is made possible by internet. Examples na lang dyan ng Skype, Facebook, and other networking sites. Moreover, teachers will also learn alongside students, as I mentioned earlier. And then we know that students nowadays are becoming computer literate. Teachers who know less about can gain also knowledge from her students who are computer literate, right? A give and take process, as we call it. Finally, students can also learn from the students from other community. Hence, the barriers or the boundaries of the schools will be broken. No? And these are the possible outcomes of the process of change, which is brought by technology. So again, that is my report, and I'm Jojo Ocampo. Merci beaucoup.